Heart surgeon's hidden secret: eat this daily to boost cardiac health. If you've ever sat quietly in the middle of the night, holding your chest as your heart beats harder than usual, and wondered, am I starting to become like my father or my grandfather, the one who died suddenly of a heart attack? Then this video is for you. Because there's something many heart surgeons never say publicly, not because they're hiding it, but simply because no one ever asks. In the operating room, they see hundreds of hearts that have gone too far. Hearts where medicine, machines, or surgery are nothing more than temporary fixes. But long before that moment, there was another choice, a chance to prevent it all, and it begins at the dining table. You may not believe it, but everything you put on your plate each day, something as simple as a spoonful of oil, a ripe avocado, or even a handful of tiny seeds, is whispering to your heart, I am helping you or I am hurting you. The strange thing is, most of us have no idea what message we are sending to our heart through our meals. And that's why millions of people who feel no symptoms at all, are still moving steadily toward their first heart attack without realizing it. Today, I want to take you on a journey where you'll not only discover 8 foods that can quietly begin to reverse decades of internal damage, but also learn which ones truly work for your body and which ones you should avoid if you don't want to unknowingly harm your heart further. Some of the foods on this list will surprise you. Some you might already be eating every single day, but in the wrong way. And one of them, long forgotten, turns out to be the silent guardian of millions of aging hearts. So here's the question. If just one small change in your daily meals could save you from an expensive surgery, wouldn't you want to know what it is? Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share may completely change how you look at your breakfast tomorrow.
Number 8. Blueberries. Tiny fruit, huge benefit. He was 58 years old, living in a poor rural area, and had never eaten a single blueberry in his life. Not because he hated it, but because he didn't even know it existed. I grew up where fruit meant bananas, papayas, coconuts. Blueberries, that's something you'd only see in the supermarkets for the rich, he said. Then, after a mild episode of chest pain, his doctor advised him to pay closer attention to his diet. A friend gave him a bag of frozen blueberries from America. He tried them, found them slightly tart, and thought nothing more of it. Until 3 weeks later, when his blood pressure began to drop. Not by much, just 6 points. But he started sleeping better. The tension in his head was gone. And he began to notice that maybe, just maybe, there was something inside those tiny berries that his body was quietly thanking him for. You've probably heard that blueberries are good for the heart. But how good, really? In multiple studies, scientists have shown that blueberries contain anthocyanins, a group of powerful antioxidants that reduce inflammation inside artery walls, improve blood vessel flexibility, and most importantly, help stabilize blood pressure. One study from Harvard found that eating just half a cup of blueberries a day can lower the risk of heart attack by up to 32%. But what if you live somewhere without blueberries? What if that frozen bag is something you could never afford to buy? That's exactly why I told this story. Because the real lesson isn't that you must have blueberries. It's about realizing that your heart needs true nourishment from antioxidants. And nature has given you far more options than you might imagine. Did you know there are other fruits that are cheaper, easier to find, and contain the same or even higher levels of anthocyanins compared to blueberries? And would you like to know the names of those fruits? Don't look away, because right now we're moving on to a food that seems ordinary, but has been quietly helping millions of older adults lower their cholesterol with nothing more than a simple breakfast.
Number 7. Oats. More than just breakfast. She was 72 years old, widowed, living alone in a small apartment in the center of New Jersey. Every morning, she sat by her window, brewed a cup of black tea, and ate a slice of white bread with butter. Not because she loved it,
but because it was convenient. Until one routine checkup, when her doctor paused for a few seconds while reviewing her cholesterol numbers. "We need to make a change right away," he said, "or you'll face a much higher risk within the next 2 years." She asked, "Medication?" He replied, "No. First, let's start with breakfast." The doctor recommended that she swap her bread for slow-cooked oats. That was it. No pills, no supplements. And 3 months later, she returned with results that surprised even her doctor. Her LDL cholesterol had dropped by 18 points. No more heavy-headed mornings, no more sluggishness after meals, and she began to notice herself settling into a slower, healthier rhythm of life. All from a single bowl of porridge. Have you ever thought about how the breakfast you eat every day might be quietly shaping the state of your heart 10 years from now? Oats contain the special type of fiber called beta-glucan, which acts like a natural sponge, soaking up excess cholesterol from your blood. A Harvard study confirmed that just 3 grams of beta-glucan daily, the amount in one bowl of oatmeal, can significantly reduce the risk of heart disease. But wait, what if you've experienced bloating, indigestion, or even allergies when eating oats? Don't worry, you're not alone. Some viewers have shared that oats caused inflammation or strange reactions for them. The good news is, there are gentler alternatives, such as flax seeds, chia seeds, or overnight soaked oats, which make digestion easier while still offering the same powerful benefits for your heart. Do you want to know how to turn oats into something delicious and never boring? And more importantly, the next food will completely change the way you think about your daily snacks. It's something crunchy, tasty, and often misunderstood. Many people think it makes you gain weight, while in reality, it's quietly protecting your blood vessels with every single bite.
Number 6. Almonds, the crunch that saves your heart. If you've ever walked past the nut aisle at the supermarket, glanced at the high price tag on a bag of almonds and shook your head, you're not alone. A 63-year-old man once wrote in the comments, "I didn't believe a handful of these tiny nuts could do anything for my heart. I just ate them as a snack without thinking much about it." Until he went for his regular blood test and the results made his doctor ask, "Did you change something recently?" He replied, "No, I just swapped these nuts for my usual potato chips in the afternoon." The doctor smiled. His LDL cholesterol had dropped slightly, his HDL had gone up, and his blood pressure was more stable. And for the first time, he began to realize maybe his body knew more than he gave it credit for. Have you ever thought that the snack you grab every day, the one you treat as nothing more than a small habit, might actually be shaping the future of your heart? Almonds aren't just a casual snack. They're a form of natural medicine wrapped in flavor. Rich in monounsaturated fats, vitamin E, magnesium, and fiber, almonds help regulate cholesterol and stabilize blood pressure. A 2020 meta-analysis revealed that eating about 30 to 50 grams of almonds daily could lower LDL cholesterol by up to 9% and significantly increase HDL levels within just a few weeks. That satisfying crunch doesn't just calm your hunger cravings, it calms the stressed, overworked blood flowing through your arteries. And that's something very few people think about when they chew almonds. However, not everyone digests nuts easily. If you've ever felt bloated after eating almonds, try lightly roasting them or soaking them overnight. This activates the enzymes in the nut, making them easier to digest. And if you don't enjoy the taste of almonds, don't worry, there are other heart-friendly options like walnuts, pumpkin seeds, and sunflower seeds that offer similar benefits. But the next food on our list is very different. It isn't crunchy, it isn't sweet, and in fact, many people dislike its smell. So why do millions of doctors around the world recommend eating it every single week? And what's the science hiding behind that distinctive aroma?
Number 5. Spinach, not for everyone. She wrote a comment that made me stop and read it twice. Every time I eat spinach, my eyes swell, my throat burns, and my stomach feels painfully bloated. I thought I was doing something wrong until the doctor told me to stay away from oxalates. She isn't the only one. Many people assume leafy greens are absolutely safe, but their bodies are sending the opposite message. And here lies the paradox. One of the most nutrient-dense foods can actually be problematic for certain sensitive individuals. So the question is spinach truly good for heart health? The answer is, for most people, yes. Spinach is loaded with vitamin K, which helps keep blood vessels flexible and prevents calcification. It's also rich in folate, iron, magnesium, and vitamin C, nutrients essential for smooth circulation and stable blood pressure. A study of more than 12,000 people found that those who ate dark leafy greens 4 times per week lowered their risk of heart disease by 21% compared to those who ate less. But if you belong to the group of people prone to kidney stones, chronic inflammation, or flare-ups after eating spinach, there's no need to feel guilty for avoiding it. Did you know that bok choy, or lightly steamed baby kale, provide nearly the same nutrients, but with far less oxalate? With just one small swap, you can still protect your heart without harming your stomach or kidneys. You might be asking yourself, how do I know if my body belongs to that group? Sometimes the answer isn't in lab results. It's in how you feel after your meal. And if you've worried about cutting spinach out of your diet, don't, because the next food will make you completely rethink fish, especially a kind that many consider expensive or hard to buy, yet it contains a nutrient that your heart craves as much as it craves oxygen itself.
Number 4. Wild salmon. Real choice, real benefit. I remember a conversation in the comments section of an older video. A man wrote, "I'm 68 and I used to believe salmon was only for the wealthy. One Sunday, my daughter bought some and grilled it for dinner. And within just a few weeks, I started sleeping more deeply, the numbness in my legs disappeared, and the morning pressure in my chest was gone." So the question is, what makes salmon have such a profound impact on heart health? The answer lies in its natural oil, omega-3. Unlike the bad fats that clog arteries, omega-3 works like a lubricant for your cardiovascular system. It calms inflammation inside artery walls, stabilizes your heartbeat, and most importantly, lowers bad cholesterol, LDL, while boosting the good kind, HDL. A meta-analysis of more than 149,000 people found that supplementing with omega-3 from fish significantly reduced the risk of death from heart disease, non-fatal heart attacks, and other cardiovascular events. In fact, some studies even show that eating fatty fish at least twice per week can lower the risk of stroke by up to 20%. But not all salmon is the same. You may have heard that farmed salmon contains less omega-3 than wild salmon, and that's true, which is why choosing the right kind, even if only once or twice a week, is far better than eating more of the wrong one. The challenge is that not everyone can afford wild salmon. So, is there an option that's both affordable and just as rich in omega-3? The answer is sardines, a small, inexpensive fish, naturally low in heavy metals, yet packed with omega-3 levels comparable to salmon. You can easily find them canned, ready to eat, convenient, and highly nutritious. But what if you don't like fish, or you're vegetarian? Where can you turn for an omega-3 alternative? And how can you choose the right fats without worrying about gaining weight? The answer lies in a creamy fruit that many people once feared until they discovered it was actually a soft shield for their heart. Number 3. Avocado, the gentle fat that protects the heart. She's 76 years old, living in Texas, and for most of her life, she feared fat even more than sugar. I avoided avocados, oils, anything fatty, because my doctor once told me fat was the enemy of the heart. But after one checkup, her HDL, The good, protective cholesterol was far too low. And the first thing the dietitian told her was, you need to eat avocados. She was puzzled. Avocados, but aren't they fat? The dietitian smiled. Yes, but it's the kind of fat that loves your heart. Avocados are one of the richest fruits in monounsaturated fats, the very type proven to raise HDL, lower LDL, and help stabilize heart rhythm. In a study published by the Journal of the American Heart Association, people who ate half an avocado daily had a 21% lower risk of heart disease compared to those who didn't. But that's not all. Avocados are also packed with potassium, a key mineral for controlling blood pressure, and high in fiber, which helps regulate blood sugar and supports gentle weight loss, something especially important for older adults at risk of diabetes and heart disease. Have you avoided avocados because you thought they made you gain weight? In reality, that creamy, silky richness actually helps you feel full longer, cuts down cravings for snacks, and prevents post-meal sugar crashes. Small changes that can transform both blood pressure and blood sugar over time. Not sure how to enjoy them? Try spreading avocado on whole grain toast instead of butter, or blending it with almond milk for a morning smoothie. That soft, buttery flavor, when eaten the right way, won't just make your meals more enjoyable, it will wrap your heart in what feels like a gentle shield from the inside out. But while avocados are celebrated as a superfood, the next item on our list is the complete opposite. Strong-smelling, sharp-tasting, and often disliked. Yet it remains the silent protector of millions of hearts around the world, and doctors recommend it daily, even if it's just a single clove.
Number 2. Garlic, the prescription-free medicine. She was 84, her hair completely white, living in a small mountain town. Every morning, she peeled a clove of garlic, chewed it slowly, and washed it down with warm water. She said, "I've never taken statins, never had heart surgery. Doctors call it a miracle, but I just smile, because I know I've been following my mother's advice all my life." Have you ever thought that something so small, so pungent, could actually change the destiny of your heart? Garlic is more than a flavor. It's an ancient medicine. And today, modern science has confirmed what our ancestors once believed. Garlic protects the heart. The compound allicin, formed only when garlic is crushed or chopped, has the ability to relax blood vessels, lower blood pressure, fight inflammation, and most importantly, reduce bad cholesterol in the blood. A clinical study published in the Journal of Nutrition showed that taking aged garlic extract daily for just 6 weeks reduced LDL cholesterol by 10 to 15 milligrams per deciliter, an effect comparable to some low-dose prescription medications. But garlic doesn't stop there. It also improves blood flow to the brain, reducing the risk of arterial plaque buildup, which is one of the leading causes of heart attacks and strokes. So, how should you eat garlic? The best way is to crush it raw, let it sit for about 10 minutes to allow allicin to form, and then consume it with warm water. If raw garlic is too strong, you can mix it into vegetables, roast it lightly, or use garlic extract capsules. But if you suffer from ulcers or gastritis, be cautious. Raw garlic can sometimes cause irritation. There's also something fascinating. Many people say they can smell natural medicine when they eat garlic. Perhaps your body recognizes something deeper, the scent of life, protection, and a connection to something ancient and true. But as powerful as garlic may be, the next food is the true cornerstone of a heart-healthy diet, the one often called liquid gold, both delicious and versatile, credited with saving thousands of heart patients in one of Europe's most famous studies.
Number 1. Olive oil, the golden drop that keeps the heart beating. One morning in his clinic, a doctor placed a small bottle on the table. No pills, no tablets, just a dark golden oil. He said, "I use this every single day, and if I had to choose only one thing to recommend to every heart patient for life, this would be it." Have you ever thought that an oil, something so often labeled as a fat to avoid, could actually be the key to keeping your arteries flexible, your blood pressure stable, and your cholesterol under control? Extra virgin olive oil is the foundation of the Mediterranean diet, one of the most widely studied and most powerful dietary patterns for preventing heart disease. In the landmark PREDIMED study, involving more than 7,000 people at risk of heart disease, the group that consumed 50 milliliters of olive oil daily lowered their risk of stroke, heart attack, and cardiovascular death by 30%. Why? Because olive oil is rich in polyphenols, potent anti-inflammatory compounds, and monounsaturated fats that raise good cholesterol, HDL, lower bad cholesterol, LDL, and protect the endothelium, the delicate lining inside your blood vessels that keeps circulation smooth and healthy. You don't need much, just 1 to 2 tablespoons a day, drizzled over salads, vegetables, or even lightly poured over your meals. What matters is choosing the right kind, extra virgin, cold-pressed, unrefined, because that's where all the heart-saving compounds remain intact. Have you avoided oils because you thought they would make you gain weight? The truth is, olive oil, when used properly, reduces inflammation, stabilizes blood sugar, and helps you feel full longer. It doesn't clog your arteries, it softens and protects your heart every single day. And perhaps the strangest thing of all is this silky golden liquid, without the sharp aroma of garlic, without the sweetness of blueberries, happens to be the common thread in the diets of regions with the lowest rates of heart disease in the world. Are you using it the right way? Or are you still cooking everything with nameless oils that your heart cannot recognize, let alone benefit from? Do you remember the stories I shared at the beginning? About the 58-year-old man who tasted blueberries for the very first time? About the 84-year-old woman who chewed garlic every morning? About the doctor who placed a bottle of olive oil on the table as a symbol of life itself? None of them waited until surgery was the only option left. They chose to begin with the small things, with a spoon, with a plate, with their heart. And today you've walked with me through that same journey. 8 foods, but not just a list. They are 8 ways you can tell your heart every single day, I care. I choose to live differently. I choose to live with intention. You may have thought, I'm too old to change now. But the truth is, your heart doesn't care how old you are. It only cares about what you're giving it today. And if you've been feeling tired, uncertain, or as if your body is slowly drifting away from you, then the smallest spark of hope you felt today is proof that you are not too late. Not at all. If this video has helped you realize something, leave a comment. Share which food you love the most or which one you're going to try starting tomorrow. Your words might reach someone who needs them more than you can imagine. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss the health secrets that too many people never hear until it's already too late. Because in the next video, I'll be sharing the foods that can help you recover after a heart disease diagnosis. And the truth, most doctors won't tell you about statins. I'll see you there, where together we choose to live a life with the heart leading the way.